Damsel is a beautiful companion piece of garbage to Madam Web. A double whammy that would give someone pause if they had to choose between them and the Paul brothers for worst duo of all time. You couldn't ask for a better meme right now. This movie tries to sell itself as a subversion of fantasy tropes while existing solely off cliches and stock image versions of better movies. It ends up contributing to film the same way this dude adds to boxing.
Anytime you want it, Dynamite, you pussy motherfucker, come get it.
Yeah, that motherfucker like a skeleton wrapped in white tape.
The only way you should watch this movie is if you want to see how bad things can get in Hollywood. It set a new bar for lazy. Damsel's the end result of every mistake Hollywood's made in the last 10 years on both sides of the camera, all pieced together into a thing most parties would rightfully feel embarrassed being a part of. It's a B-movie story produced on an A-movie budget with an F-level execution. It's unintentionally cheesy, looks laughably bad, and mishandles a talented cast that can't do anything with a script lifted straight off a middle schooler's desk. So yeah, a lot in common with Madam Web.
It's webbin' time.
A major difference being the stars of that movie were smart enough to distance themselves from the garbage patch they were rolling in. On Damsel, Millie Bobby Brown is stuck with this one. She's an executive producer on it, which says a lot about her ability to make a film versus perform in one. And while Madam Web was awful, it was just that and nothing more. Damsel, on the other hand, is a joke that's only efficient in checking every DEI box as openly as possible.
I am black. I am gay. I am disabled. I am a woman seeking to control her health and her choices.
For starters, there's Millie Bobby Brown's Mary Sue blank paper lead character that does nothing but fulfill every girl boss trope who can, you guessed it, somehow do everything she needs with little to no effort or skill acquisition. And it has a paint-by-numbers plot that's so obvious and cliche I found myself cycling through sighing to heel rock shit talk.
Off! It's a direction you can fuck!
And I'm still wondering what audience this is for. It's so childish it couldn't pass for a bad kids movie, and with quite a bit of gore and a dark fantasy label, that can't be the target demographic. Because its lead character is such a substanceless, shallow puddle who's nothing but a propaganda-level self-insert joke, if any discerning viewer told me they really enjoyed this movie, false.
No way. Not this time.
I'm calling fiction. There's no way anyone would like this character because there's nothing there to like. She's a sheet of paper. If someone likes the lead, it's because they like Millie Bobby Brown. So many shots in this movie look awful. So many actors look frustrated. The plot is so full of nonsense and convenience. And every line of dialogue makes characters feel like they made it to adulthood without ever talking to another human being. The AI-generated script joke has run its course, but I paused at one moment in the movie to make a note where I genuinely questioned if the dialogue was generated by a computer. There was no joke in my question, and I'm sure it'll remain a mystery, but I ask, were parts of, if not significant portions of this movie written by a robot? Because this movie's past the ESG singularity. It's on par with a Hannah Gatsby comedy special, you know? Behold as it renders the viewer perplexed and unable to laugh. I'd bet a first edition Charizard that movies like The Marvels or Damsel would have significantly higher ratings if they came out a few years ago. She-Hulk is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes because it came out during peak conclusion. But Damsel is the event horizon. This is a DEI movie in a vacuum. Every bad Hollywood decision in one film, topped with a nice bow for us to collectively point at and say,
It's shit. It is a table of shit.
I've been busting that one out on rare occasions, but this is a back-to-back with Madame Web. That also means I'm gonna Mike Tyson this Jake Paul of a movie. Stick around for the story breakdown, but first a quick word about Aura. That cannot protect you from a movie like this, but it can protect you online. Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to find your personal information on one of those public listing sites? Yeah, me too. Googling my name, I can find my previous addresses, workplaces. It's creepy and feels incredibly intrusive. Data brokers are making a fortune selling our information to robocallers, spammers, and others who want to learn more about us, like where we live. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your info and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do, and Aura will handle it for you. You can try Aura free for 2 weeks using my link, and Aura does so much more to protect you from online threats you can't see. It's really easy to set up so you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. You can let people continue to exploit and profit off your private info, or you can go to my link right here to start your 2-week free trial, also linked in the description.
And now the story of Damsel.
This California cheeseburger starts off with some Mortal Kombat Annihilation style visuals as the camera cascades across the countryside following a king leading his band of dipshits to their deaths in R-rated schlocky horror fashion. At this point, I was wondering if this was a kid's movie or not because the acting and story seemed like they might be silly on purpose. That's until the dragon appears and douses the king's dipshits in a raging fire while the camera just lingers there. And I mean lingers, it just hangs there as they writhe in pain. So no, not a kid's movie, just cringe. And to spoil one point ahead of time here, it's revealed later that these guys knew this was a fire-breathing dragon, so they just ran in with swords, not even a fucking shield. They saw the flames and were like, I know how to defeat fire, my trusty blade. And they ran in like they misread the warning label.
Oh, you're a big boy. How you're so cute. What's your name? What's your name?
Right there.
Oh, hi. Vino Moose. Oh, hi, Vino Moose.
And then we flash forward a few centuries to Millie Bobby Brown playing her latest contractual obligation to Netflix that's guaranteed her generational wealth at just 20 years old. I mean, Ricky Bobby playing Elodie, the young princess whose only character trait we're given is that she chops wood. That's literally it. From the writer's POV, because she can chop wood, this is enough evidence to infer she's able to surpass insurmountable odds that killed trained and well-armed men later in the film. But I digress. Elodie's dad is king or lord or some sort of leader of this bland Getty Images land, and his people are poor and suffering, so he's a terrible leader. Luck seems to strike for a guy who will do whatever it takes because a queen of another land wants Ricky Bobby to marry her son. Her dad's as cutthroat as they come and immediately guilts her into marrying the guy and tells her that being with him means carriages full of gold. And you wouldn't want your people to die this winter, would you? Like, hey honey, the only way to avoid being responsible for everyone's death is risking a blind marriage that could be Jerry Springer worthy for all you know.
I have you turn around for a second. A man who gives true meaning to the word redneck.
You get up and turn around, there's the real meaning of a dumb bitch.
Oh, and the stepmother's black because why wouldn't she be? Luckily, the stepmom is played by Angela Bassett, but she's worse off for having been in this just like the rest of the cast. Ricky and her family show up to the next generic fantasy layout, and she sighs in relief when she sees her husband-to-be is not a mutant. That doesn't mean he doesn't act like one. The performances are so wooden from all involved that I get to do impressions again. The groom says, ever robotically, "Very pleased to finally meet you, my lady." And his mom, with the "and one," says, "My son understates our joy." Ezra Miller's career has more life than this. There's some real acting pedigree in this movie, from Way Winstone's Angela Bassett to Robin Wright as the Queen, or even Miss Brown, however you might feel about some of her projects. She's definitely one of the it actresses of the last few years, but the horrible direction of the actors from a flaccid script is like trying to high-five an amputee. Good fucking luck, buddy. Elodie and Prince whoever go for a majestic stroll down a garden path so they can get to know each other, nailing groundbreaking back and forths like these bangers. Do you have any questions of me? Questions of what subject? You may choose the subject. This is what made me pause and question if some of this was artificially written, by the way. She then demands to know if he truly likes her or not, even though they just met like 5 fucking minutes ago. The dialogue continues with future movie trivia night answers like, "The land where I come from is exactly how my mother explained. Cold. Barren." She even tells him that the only reason she's marrying him is because of his wealth and that it'll save her people. Like, she's just telling him she's using him, and obviously his mom is using him. Someone get the nets, this guy's gonna harakiri. Elsewhere, Angela Bassett is trying her best to make a cake out of shit as she steps up to the queen for a friendly chat, just to get shut down, reminded of her place and why they're doing this whole thing. So she goes to Ricky Bobby and tells her she doesn't feel good about this and she should call off the wedding. Like, she's shocked to find out the queen also thinks of this marriage as transactional, the same as everyone else, including the stepmom. Wait a minute. So literally everyone involved has spoken about the wedding being a benefit to both sides, where the boy gets a bride and her family gets access to money. But now that's suddenly a bad thing to the stepmom because it was included in a slight toward her.
Ah, fuck you!
After just one afternoon together, Milli Vanilli is hooked on Brad Pitt's third cousin, the Prince. In fact, she's so love blind that she manages to miss the obvious signs of a trap as she's led through some weird-ass wedding ritual. But what else can you do while you wait for the plot to need you? She finally realizes it after she's forced to walk to the center of a narrow bridge over a chasm, slice her hand open, and then she's shoved into the fucking pit. Even then, it's only after she's wrapped herself in plot armor and survives the 1,000-foot death drop into the void that she says, "I was the sacrifice." Out loud, of course, in case the audience didn't get it either. What a coincidence that we're following a lone protagonist with no one to communicate with, but she just also happens to like the sound of her own voice and talks to herself. That's definitely one way of getting information to the viewer. In comic books, they use thought balloons. In movies, we've seen screenwriters come up with clever workarounds, like Tom Hanks in Castaway chatting to Wilson the volleyball, or a pet, or even an object, so the viewer is indirectly obtaining the information, and it seems more natural, or at least why the character's talking makes sense. But why come up with your own workaround when a character can just tell the viewer directly? Problem solved. Who can complain with that efficiency? So she realizes she's one of the 3 girls of royal blood to be sacrificed to the dragon. And as if on cue, the mama dragon appears, and I have to admit the design is kind of neat, but looks like it belongs in a completely different movie. It's a dark and edgy dragon that's hyper detailed compared to the templates we're calling backgrounds. And the tonal confusion continues to rear its head when the dragon burns Elodie's leg. Like one of those oddly specific injuries so the hero can still move on. We're just really trying to nail down every cliche with this one, folks. But wouldn't you know it, Ricky Bobby Brown knows how to make a fucking tourniquet. How unbelievably resourceful of her. And the movie's given us insight into her character for all this that lets us suspend our disbelief and accept that she knows all this stuff. It was set up before. Oh, wait, no, it wasn't. So Elodie has the knowledge and mental toughness to not only endure this unbelievable once-in-a-lifetime situation, but handle the pressure with the wherewithal of a warrior. And this was set up because we saw her chopping wood and she's poor.
Okay, John, right? Got it.
If the filmmakers think that's good enough, who are we to argue? Anyway, so next up, not only does she find a map, but she finds some glowing bugs that are bright enough to guide her way. I'm not kidding. And then she takes a nap. And then when she wakes up, the bugs are suckling on her wounds and she freaks out. All this shit happens in succession like a game from the Super Nintendo era. Map, light to guide the way, rest. There's a lot of and then going on here because as she's trying to get the sluggy things off her, she realizes they've magically healed her wounds. How plot friendly of them. Then she starts seeing ghosts or visions or some unestablished bullshit of the other girls who've been down here suffering the same fate. And all of them still have burns. It would seem that Whitney Houston Bobby Brown's the only one smart enough to utilize the glowing slugs. Probably because the movie wasn't about the other girls. At the very least, she's the only one to discover their healing abilities, and that's because they attached themselves to her while she slept, but never did to any other person that's ever been down there. This is the McDonald's drive-thru of movie storytelling. You can't beat the convenience. And now she starts scaling one difficult situation after another, while hardly breaking a sweat or dealing with any issues of self-assurance, and she's uttering exactly what she's doing as she's doing it along the way so the audience couldn't possibly get lost. Thanks, film. Climbing a skyscraper full of razor-sharp crystals? Good thing she tells us out loud that they're crystals and manages to make all of her own climbing tools. It's fun watching a piece of cardboard accomplish a death-defying objective with 0 issues and be completely self-assured at all times. Oh, and then out of fucking nowhere, her father has found his way down into the cave with a group of his men to try and rescue her. Okay, so this is happening now. At this point, Milli Vanilli's figured out that the dragon used to have baby dragons, and they were murdered unprovoked. The part left out of the prologue when the king entered the cave and his men were absolutely obliterated. Remember that? The film certainly made sure you did not forget. Well, we revisit that scene and see just how dumb these guys are. They run in with nothing to shield them from the one-hit KO, and when the dragon melts them like an Arizona ice cream, the king's like, oh fuck, if only I could have seen this coming. Also note that murdering the 3 little ones first over tactically taking down the actual threat was a smart move. Best to enrage the beast first. The king cut a deal to spare his lineage and people if each generation sacrifices 3 royal daughters. To spare their actual family, they've been having their son marry lower-class women, thereby becoming royalty, ever so briefly, and tricking the dragon by mixing royal blood with theirs. Sound stupid? Good, we're on the same page. So the Lord married off his own daughter knowing she'd die, and he's here for his shallow redemption arc. Characters like this can't live at the end, so this subversive movie must subvert that trope. Nope, this dude's deader than shit. I can't believe it, but the dragon opens up a can of whoop-ass on this guy's diverse group of minions. I mean, obviously a group of people almost exclusively landlocked by lack of money and transportation would be made up of every race on the planet. But anyway, you'd think a well-laid-out plan like this would have gone better. And then everything wrong with the movie happens at once, in the most regrettable scene of Ray Winstone's career when he tries to fight the dragon. It's the definition of cringe in a face. The real damsel here. Someone save this man from his agent. The dragon tells her father to call for his daughter, knowing she's in earshot, meaning Elodie is aware her father's call is a trap. The only reason she'd come out is if she's a complete fucking idiot, so why is the bad guy doing this? Easy answer. Because that's something they do in movies. Elodie outsmarts the dragon and forgives her dad as he dies because she's so perfect there's no time for internal conflict. You are forgiven. If only every script made things this easy. And as she escapes, the dragon leaves the chasm on a fruitless rampage. Once the queen realizes Bobby Brown's escaped, she kidnaps her sister and tosses her to the dragon as a makeup bone. The dragon, pissed off at Elodie and wanting revenge, tells the frightened girl, "Your sister will come for you." Why? What makes you say that? Have you gotten to know her? She left her father to die. What suggests she do such a thing? Oh wait, that's a thing bad guys say in movies. Silly me. Upon realizing her sister's been kidnapped, Ricky Bobby cuts her hair to symbolize her growth as a character and that she isn't fucking around anymore. You know, all the growth she's done as a person. She started out with all these abilities and the mental fortitude to get things done, and ends the movie the exact same way. Wow, what a tremendous arc I want to relive over and over. How endearing, from caterpillar to butterfly before my eyes. She even confronts the dragon with the same game plan groups of trained soldiers have tried. Run at it with a sword. This time though, she's the star of a modern Hollywood production, so she defeats the dragon with ease in Super Mario Dodge the Fire Breath style shenanigans. Even doing the cringe over-stylized sword-spinning badass girl boss move that gives you secondhand embarrassment. The dragon's laying there dying and she swings the sword down off camera in another trite shot and wow. She shows the dragon mercy. No way. Who could have predicted this turn of events from such a virtuous character? So she heals it with the blue gooey magic bugs, and the dragon, understanding it's been duped, gets its revenge, and they bad bitch their way to the queen and her family and just fucking annihilate them. I'm serious. This is how this movie ends. This movie has no clue what it wants to be, and you'll understand that when you see Emily Wright's CGI-enabled face melting on your screen for a laughable amount of time. And credits. That's the end. Wowzers. Somehow, some way, this movie got made and it reeks of obligation and hubris. The only reason I'd recommend seeing this movie is for the lulz, and that's if you're the kind of person who likes to see the dark side of things. If Madam Web was so bad it's good, this is so bad it's apathy breeding. If a movie makes great actors look awful and CGI look awful even when it's good, something has gone wrong from the top down. No one who worked on this movie is going to reflect on it favorably, and it's one of the worst movies of the year so far. Dune 2 this is not, even though the budgets are probably similar, which is quite a thought. GG's.
Let's fucking get it!